Good morning, our teachers. We are TE11 Group A. Today we'll be sharing our interventions regarding shelters for migrants in Libya. Let me first introduce Libya. Libya is a largely desert country in North Africa. The total area of Libya is about 1.75 million kilometers square, but more than 90% of the total land area is desert or semi-desert. Libya's housing crisis is only the surface of a deeper issue. Conflict has destroyed homes, unrest has hindered rebuilding, and water scarcity worsens living conditions, creating a humanitarian emergency where safe shelter is urgently needed. Our main objective is to deliver immediate shelter to migrants who currently have no safe place to stay. We are focusing on short-term life-saving support, addressing the most urgent shelter issues, not long-term housing. What we are doing is providing temporary shelters that are safe and legal, focusing on quality within each area rather than reaching out to as many towns as possible. We built our classification model by first focusing on towns with migrants, then we filtered out those renting properties to target people with no proper housing. We prioritized towns where shelter was the top reported need. We also added two new categories. First, lack of temporary shelter, referring to unsafe or illegal conditions like squatting in other people's properties, living in abandoned buildings, or informal camp settings. Second, lack of proper shelter, which refers to every shelter type in lack of temporary shelter, with addition of people living in their workplace, school, or other public buildings. These help us to pinpoint areas most in need of urgent short-term shelter support.
Our classification model uses what we call a top-bottom-middle approach. Firstly, we extracted sites that have no risk, whereby there were no migrants or no lack of proper shelter in these sites. Second, we classified the other end of the spectrum where any site which had no accommodation was immediately considered a high risk. This helped us quickly capture the most urgent cases for intervention. Thirdly, the remaining sites where accommodation was not more than zero were filtered further. Urban sites or those where shelter was not the priority need were classified as low risk. Finally, sites with the lack of temporary shelter and a shelter shortage below 30% was classified as medium risk. The remaining sites were then placed in the high risk category.
So this is how we are splitting the funds. We allocate 36% of the total fund to 9 high-risk towns, 52% to 58 medium-risk towns, and the remaining 12% to 472 low-risk towns.
Our main form of shelter assistance is through plastic sheetings or tarps. They are cheap, quick to deploy, and provide immediate protection from rain and sun, making them the most important shelter component in humanitarian response operations, especially in low-cost, high-urgency settings. Beyond basic shelter, plastic tarps are also very versatile and can be used to improve living conditions by serving as sanitation areas, food storage spaces, etc. Therefore, we plan to distribute them to all risk groups according to their varying needs. However, they are only able to cover emergency shelters and needs temporarily. Considering families with higher needs, such as those with young children, we plan to provide family tents. These tents are insulated for cold weather, which is crucial given the significant temperature difference between day and night in Libya, ensuring that families are kept warm and safe. That being said, the fabric can tear or rot over time, and repair materials can be costly, with maintenance sometimes reaching around $400. Lastly, to enhance existing shelters, we are also introducing winterization kits that include essential items like floor mats and heat-resistant sleeves to help improve insulation in colder weather. We classify this as a medium-risk deployment since it's mainly meant to upgrade existing shelters rather than building new ones and replacing them. One limitation, however, is that the kit size and dimensions might not fit every shelter type, so field adjustment may be needed.
For high-risk sites, we have two interventions, namely plastic tarps and family tents. With 9 high-risk locations and 36% of the budget, which is about 4% per location, we intend to focus our intervention on those who really need basic temporary shelter. We are targeting a total of 10,442 people, and this number includes 1,829 with no accommodation and 8,129 children who are part of the more vulnerable due to their susceptibility to the extreme weather conditions of the desert. We have split the budget to spend 47,200 on plastic tarps. This includes material cost and toolkits, and 132.8K on family tents. As seen in the diagram, the budget spent on family tents is 3 times more, yet we can only provide approximately 315 tents due to the high costs. On the other hand, the cheaper plastic tarps allow us to provide 1,740. Our method of calculating the appropriate numbers starts by ensuring each individual is covered by a plastic tarp. With information from the UNHCR, we can calculate how many plastic tarps are needed. With the leftover budget, we calculated how many family tents we were able to afford. In this way, we ensure every individual will at least receive plastic tarps. Family tents will only be given to areas with high percentage of children, as we can assume that with a larger adult-to-child ratio, there will be larger families. For example, one of the high-risk locations has a 1:9 ratio. Since children do not have the ability to regulate their body temperature as well as an adult, they require family tents that will help block cold wind and help thermal regulation, especially in keeping warm at night.
For our medium risk sites, our proposed intervention is to distribute winterization kits and plastic tarps. According to our data set, migrants in these sites already have some form of shelter, but these shelters are of poor quality and they don't protect residents from the elements. To address this, we're distributing winterization kits that will help strengthen their shelters against cold weather. Based on worlddata.info, Libya's climate ranges from about 8 degrees Celsius in winter to 35 degrees Celsius in summer. And according to UNHCR, while heat can be harsh, temperatures below 10 degrees are actually more life-threatening for displaced people, especially those living in poorly insulated or damaged buildings. That's why our main focus is on distributing winter kits rather than large-scale cooling measures. However, to provide at least some heat protection, each household will also receive one tarp, which can be used to create shaded areas or cover roofs and walls to reduce direct solar exposure. From Libya's national statistics, the average household size is 5.7 people. Across the 58 risk sites, there are 7,427 individuals, translating to about 1,303 households. We'll provide one winterization kit and one tarp per household with a 10% buffer to account for defects or larger families, distributing a total of 1,434 kits and tarps. Each winterization kit costs $166 USD. Each plastic tarp is $15 USD. This brings the total expenditure for mid-risk sites to be $259,554 USD, hence making it 52% of our total budget.
Finally, we propose conducting periodic assessments in low-risk sites. Although shelter may not be the top priority in these sites, data-driven reviews ensure that humanitarian responses remain fair, adaptive, and responsive to evolving local realities. Funds in this category will primarily support volunteers, transportation and food, and also plastic tarp provisions for emergency scenarios. Assessing low-risk sites is important because risk levels can change very quickly. Every site has changing demographics and conditions which has implications to the adaptabilities and needs of the population. Another important concern is climate change. Sudden weather events such as floods or storms like those in East Libya in 2020 can quickly raise risk levels and cause severe shelter damage even in current low-risk sites. Secondly, periodic assessment also helps us personalize and localize aid to each site with their differential priorities. We can refer to a great example already happening led by the Joint Data Center on Forced Displacement. With support from the World Bank and UNHCR, it tracks how people's needs and vulnerabilities can change over time. It's a model we can follow and possibly even collaborate with for our low-risk site interventions and funding support. In conclusion, we have presented a comprehensive proposal for the shelter issue in Libya. We hope that collectively with the government and organizations such as the UN and the people, we can help the people in Libya sleep and live more comfortably. Thank you.